This week, the media, particularly most of our national dailies, took the entire nation on a ride that was not so jolly. Without giving much care about the security implications to the country, the media gave an impression that Senator Magnus Abe, a federal lawmaker representing Rivers Southeast Senatorial District, was shot. While a few newspapers cast headlines that disregarded the policemen's denial of these accusations, others reported this denial and the claim that only tear gas was used. Joining me today to discuss this report is the Managing Director of National Trial, Abdulazeez Suleiman. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining me once again.
Yeah.
Let's just run through some of the headlines that were cast on Monday after the event happened on Sunday. Vanguard led with the headline, Rivers Crisis, Senator Abe was shot, flown to London. Underneath that, he said he was shot twice in the chest, said the aide.
Yeah.
And the police said we only used tear gas, minimum force. The Daily Independent on the same day led with the headline as well, saying outrage as police shoot Senator Abe in Rivers. APC had no permits to hold rally, says the police. Shooting raises concern on political watch lists and others. The Nigerian Tribune also led with the same story, saying chaos in Port Harcourt. Police shot Senator Magnus Abe with rubber bullets in the chest, says Rivers State government. It's a blatant lie, a blackmail, says the police. If this truly was a blatant lie, a blackmail like the policemen have said, do you think there's a need, or don't you think there's a need for the media to actually embrace more honor and integrity in our style of reporting in Nigeria?
You see, to me, these headlines...
You can take a look at it.
Yeah. It calls for concern when major national dailies go to town with such dangerously sensational headlines without caring to cross-check their facts. You see, it's the duty of every editor to cross-check facts on stories sent to him from his correspondents. If we take a look at all this, you find that the headlines are almost similar, which suggests some sort of syndication. Almost all the headlines carry chaos, outrage, police shoot Abe, crisis. You see, they suggest some sort of syndication, unrest, which does not speak well for the nation, and it's also detrimental to professionalism. I find this a major goof from the media, and more so, you can see there was a rebuttal by the police.
Yes.
So
an authority.
An authority.
Yes.
So it becomes a controversy. So professionally, the headlines ought to have been an allegation. So ought to have portrayed an allegation, not conclusive.
How do you think, all of these papers should have, better reported this issue? For instance, do you think that they should have probably said allegedly or?
Yeah, allegedly. You see, I think I read the Guardian.
Okay.
Yeah, I always respect the Guardian. See,
I must commend the Guardian.
Yeah,
because
of course.
They didn't even carry that picture out. They didn't put the picture out.
Yes, you can see this is professionalism at its best. Uproar in Rivers as police Amechi's supporters clash. They downplayed the shooting. And when they used it as a bullet, they said security operatives allegedly shoot. It's an allegation. The police has refuted it. And you can see if you even go through the stories, almost all the papers rely on anonymous eyewitness accounts.
Yes, talking about this pictures, say better. It tells the whole story. Still or video, motion pictures just says everything. Now, as an editor, receiving this story and also receiving this kind of picture, which all of the newspapers, carried out and reported. How would you have treated the story?
You see, as it is said, pictures speak most of the stories. But in this case, you find that the photographs are not speaking, they don't tally with the theme of the stories. Now, some of these headlines said he was shot twice on the chest. Now, as an editor, you receive a photograph that does not show any wound on a chest, and you go to town with it. Is really ridiculous and unprofessional. All the photographs don't speak of a person who has been shot. No blood stains, nothing, just a man lying down on a hospital bed. And you can see, it also suggests that the photographs themselves were syndicated, coming from the same source. And even if you read the story, you see the story does not tally with the photograph and the headlines given for the stories, the main stories. I read inside, most of the papers said that even the medical officer that treated him, that administered first aid, said he was treated for traumatic shock, not gunshots. So professionally, all the editors ought to have gone through the story first, make other findings. The editor is free to call other sources, call his reporter to check his facts, to cross-check his facts before going to town. But you find that these days editors just tend to go. Sometimes they even just lift the stories online from online sources.
I'm sure you watched the video on probably most of our national TVs of the medical practitioner actually taking out time in that urgent situation. It was an emergency. Taking out time to explain to the media what was going on. Yeah. At the time, he was allegedly shot. Yeah. What do you think? What do you have to say about that?
You see, like you rightly pointed out, the guy is a medical practitioner, not a medical officer. Medical officers are those who are certified by government to practice medicine. A medical practitioner is just like a legal practitioner. There is a difference between a legal practitioner and a legal officer.
Don't you think that the media should focus more on stepping up on its professionalism rather than, being involved in this kind of choreographed drama?
No, I think media executives should really be vigilant, because this is embarrassing. As these days we live in a global village. You don't just write something that is consumed by your immediate locality. The entire world reads this, and they don't. You see, the outside world is critical. They don't just read and consume. They're not as gullible as we are. So the ridicule would be on the media and not the targeted, what the media targets. What they would do is they would say, oh, this is Nigerian press. Because it's ridiculous. You don't.
But don't you think that there needs to be a shift in this equation? I mean, between the press and the public now, there needs to be a shift. Somebody has to shift. Either the public would adjust to say, okay, we would expect this from the Nigerian media and be on the watch out, or the press has to revolutionize, it has to step up entirely.
There has to be. You see, the problem we are facing generally is that most of the media are not owned or operated by professionals. They are owned by people with certain biases, and in most cases
political biases
or religious. They just set up this because they have the money and they recruit professionals to work for them. And like it said, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. That's why you find a difference between reportings in Guardian and to some extent Daily Trust, because Daily Trust is owned by professionals.
So you think with politicians owning newspapers, they're gradually dragging our media into the mud of politics.
Yeah, of course.
Rather than actually doing their own professional jobs reporting the truth as it is.
Of course, that's what's happening.
Okay.
You find the editor has to tilt his judgment towards the publisher's interest. In most cases.
I would like to point out one thing though. This was reported on Monday. Yeah. From Monday up till now, there's been no follow-up report. They even reported that 2 children were feared dead. This is a vital part of our country. They said 2 children were dead, and they have not come to report any follow-up story or whatsoever that this did not happen. They haven't even further investigated Tinubu, who visited, you know, the Senator Magnus. They haven't actually gone to.
You see, this is part of the embarrassment I was talking to you about. The initial story was not properly investigated because it's all based on what an aide to the Rivers State governor said. That's the bulk of the story is based on what he said, that this man was shot, 2 children also died, you know. So the media ought to have gone beyond that. Where are the parents of these children? Where were their bodies taken to? And even the controversy over the application for permit. The group said they have applied. Police said you have not. Ask the group to show you evidence that they've applied. That is what the media ought to do. The editors are mostly in the head offices. These reports were churned in from the state correspondents. But the editor does not have to rush to press professionally. He should read the story, raise the gray areas, and talk to the correspondent. Okay.
Thank you very much for joining me once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Like our guest has just said, it's very important for the media to report the event as it is, as we must pursue truth as a nation. Once again, thank you for joining me. Until next week, I am